Welcome back to Near Lucid. Today we'll be reviewing the Gamakay K77, a budget-friendly and very bright keyboard. This board was provided by Banggood, but as always that will not influence our opinion or statements in any way. Let's start with unboxing. There's nothing special. The board is inside a plastic bag here, and included is also a USB to USB-C cable, keycap and switch puller, and a brush of some sort. These are going into the trash immediately. I would always recommend using your own tools and cable. And here's the board itself. For a pre-built of this size, the weight is fair and it looks really interesting with its unusual layout and stacked acrylic case. So on to some basic specs. The K77 comes with your choice of Gateron black, blue, brown, red, or yellow switches, and is hot swappable, but unfortunately with north-facing sockets. I'll get to why this is an issue later. It uses USB-C on the right side, which is always good to see. The plate is acrylic and only supports plate-mounted stabilizers. Every configuration is roughly $80. Today our K77 has Gateron yellows, and before we get into the review and modding, let's perform a stock sound test, right out of the box on modified. Honestly, I don't think it's too bad. I find that stacked acrylic cases sound very muted since it's just plastic on plastic. The stabilizers are very rattly, but since they're plate mounted, they're easy enough to swap out. And the feel of stock Gateron yellows isn't too bad, and I would say they're decently smoother than some other stock switches. Before we start modding, let's do a quick review of the features, starting with the exterior design and layout. The board itself is 4 pieces of acrylic, all screwed together with the screws on the bottom. It's slightly angled, but only due to the massive rear bumpers that look kinda weird from the side. I would definitely prefer for these to be acrylic, like on the Gentleman, so it will match with the rest of the board better. And with this semi-transparent case, RGB is diffused incredibly well, allowing for extremely bright lighting effects. These can be controlled through Gamakay's own lighting software, which is linked in the description below. This didn't install correctly for me, and it ended up just having to use the key combinations found in the manual to change the lighting. This layout is very unique and I actually quite like it. I've always liked the look of the function rolless boards just because of how wide they look, and this board takes that up a notch and replaces the nav cluster with a full-on number pad. For practicality purposes, I guess this varies a lot, and since it still retains the arrow keys, I ultimately don't mind. Typing feel is fairly stiff because of the rigidness of the stacked acrylic, but not super solid like a metal plate. Like all stacked acrylic boards, there's no room for flex, so soft board enjoyers may feel disappointed, but if you're coming from a pre-built with a very solid plate, the step down in stiffness might be a welcome change. The included keycaps are OEM profile ABS shine through and are pretty thin and cheap feeling. I would definitely swap these out for a set of your preference. The issue with the hot swap socket being north facing is that if you want to use cherry profile keycaps, which I recommend for the most optimal sound, you will have to find a switch with a long pull, which is a switch that doesn't go all the way down when fully pressed. Otherwise, you'll run into keycap and switch interference, and it'll sound and feel awful. And with that, we can start modding. We're going to ditch both the plate mounted stabilizers and stock Gateron yellows and replace them with tuned Everglide pandas. For switches, I'm going to use Holy Bobas, which do have a long pole, so I am free to use any cherry profile set I want. I'm going to be using GMK white on black, just because I want a neutral set that can match with any RGB setting the board is set to. Now let's take the screws out and do the Tepes tape mod on the PCB. This is a great mod for improving sound on beginner boards, and we did make an in-depth video explaining how to perform the mod and how it affects sound, so be sure to watch that first if you want more information. I'm going to use around 3 layers. The PE foam mod doesn't really work on this board since the plate is extra thick and the switches will just pop out, but I did manually PE foam by cutting tiny foam squares for every switch socket. Now here's a sound test with tape mod, PE foam mod, Tunes Everglide Pandas, Holy Bobas, and GMK. Not sure if I entirely like it. The sound seems super inconsistent across each row, which is quite interesting. Black keycaps on polycarbonate looks alright, but I think I would still rather have something light gray like Modern Dolce Light, or better yet, ASCII. And because of the LED placement, even though the keycaps aren't shine through, the lighting still looks great. So with this board having a thick plate and north-facing switches, it's not the easiest in the world to mod. But if the extreme RGB of the K77 is something you're into, I would definitely not knock it as a budget option. And that's all I have for you today. Thanks for watching this episode of Near Lucid. If you like this video, drop a thumbs up. If you have feedback or questions, don't hesitate to leave a comment below. We'd be more than happy to answer. Also, these videos take lots of work. By subscribing, you'll let us know that you want us to keep making them. That's all for this video. I'll see you guys later.